So I want to show you a little bit of life in Busan. This is actually Haeundae. There's a bunch of restaurants on both sides, and it's a whole different world than what you see in USA. And in fact, Yeji and I today, we took a road trip from Busan to a temple area, and it was very interesting to see all the different safety integrations into the highway and sort of how the Korean cars work versus, say, American cars and other foreign brands. So we're going on a road trip.
Because weather is so good, the mountain color is pretty.
Yeah, so we'll show you guys a little bit outside of Busan.
약 1km 앞 시속 80km.
So the road's gonna split up here. And it's really pretty actually, the split. I want to talk with you guys about this stuff because sometimes people ask me about these things. What's life like in Korea and stuff like that. I'll say this, if you want to see more, you can check out our vlog, but I do want to address it on the main channel because sometimes people don't know we have a vlog channel. And to just show you life is very, very different. One of the big differences I would say in Korea is like there's so many restaurant choices and all the prices in the menus are, everything is integrated. So tax and tips, whatever, because there's no tips here, but it's all integrated price. So the price of the menu is the price that you pay. And because there's so many choices, I will say it's fantastic because if you don't want to, you can eat out all the time, and the food options are actually extremely healthy. So it's a very different culture. Basically, people are concerned about health and safety, and it was really apparent today in all the changes they've made to the sort of highway system, which I'll show you some pictures, and let's get right into it. So I want to give you an idea of what traffic looks like in Korea. You can see all the brands of cars that they go by. There's going to be a whole bunch here. Most of the cars are going to be either Kia, Hyundai, or Genesis, again, Korean brands. Just take a look. If you've never seen traffic in Korea, it may be something that you see different in USA because we have a lot of models that don't make it to the USA, and there's really a lot of electric vehicles actually, so I'll show you some more. Some of the buses are electric, and yep, a lot of these are Kias and Hyundais. Just want you to see it for yourself what it looks like. It's a very different environment than, say, USA. There goes a bus. And in that case, they do find a Tesla. There's a Tesla right there. So they do exist, but I think all the taxis are domestic. I don't think I've seen a taxi that's a Tesla. And you'll see a lot of taxis here in Korea. This is Busan. So I just want to show you a little bit of life here in Korea. And my first thing that I want to tell you is just the market here is really, really different than the USA. And so, you know, if you ever have this discussion about cars or Tesla or whatever, oftentimes you're listening to an American who lives in a suburb, right? Not a big city. And they're just telling you their experience, and mostly these Tesla towns are going to tell you how awesome Tesla is because they're a pro-Tesla channel. And I think if you watch anything from an American in regard to cars, if someone's giving you an honest opinion, they should be talking about all brands, not just one. And I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to say. So with that said, Tesla is actually trying to bring FSD here to Korea. I just saw it in the news. It's just like a week or so ago or something like that. And I'm actually really curious how that's going to turn out because FSD isn't ready to what Elon Musk says it is, right? He's been promising robot driving for years. It's still not quite here. And he's also promised you a robot, taxis or whatever. I don't think they're bringing the robot taxis here to Korea. At least I haven't heard anything about that, but they are going to try to bring the FSD. And I'm actually really curious if Koreans are going to sign up for said thing. Because one thing you need to know about, say, here in Korea with the Teslas is they've had a lot of really bad PR lately. They had some sort of battery problem with these things, and it bricked a lot of cars. And so, just imagine how you feel if like your battery doesn't work, which is basically your car. And so then people took their Tesla, or tried to at least take it to a service center, and then it's been widely reported that there's just not a lot of service centers here to fix your Tesla. And it's awful. It's something like, I think if you compare to other foreign brands, which would be like, popular ones would be like a Mercedes or BMW, they may have something like 70 or 80 service centers, and Tesla might have like, 10 to 20, something like that. So like a lot less. And that's a really terrible thing, especially for cars. There's always something you need to fix. It's a car, there's always something you need to work on or whatever. And Tesla's been kind of just dropping the ball on that. And so if they're serious about bringing FSD here to Korea, they need to up the amount of service centers that they have. But the problem is, as you guys know, it's like Tesla's a failing brand. They don't really have any new products coming out. Their CEO is more concerned about getting a massive pay package than he is about putting out a quality brand or a quality car. And then also he talks every day that like he's going to build a bunch of robots. Like the car is not really his, Focus, and then he's also got his Twitter and his XAI stuff. So he's all over the map there. And I'm actually just really curious, what's going to happen with Tesla, say, here in Korea. I also want to bring up the subject of, we took out a Kia Seltos, went on a little bit of a road trip today. I don't drive that much in Korea, full disclosure, I just don't drive that much here because mass transit is so good and you can walk everywhere. And most places, like say here in Busan, if you can't walk or mass transit, you just take a taxi, and it's pretty affordable. And so it's like, why mess with the car when you got to wash the thing and you got to insure the thing, put gas in the thing, or charge it if you have electric. It's just too much hassle and it's worth. But sometimes we do take out a car, and just to give you just a frame of reference, we rented the car for the day. It was 50,000 Korean won, and I think that translates to like $35. and that's all in, which isn't that bad for the day. So it's like, the cost of actually buying cars, just kind of the math doesn't really work out. And also, to give you in perspective of money, if you take mass transit across the city, it's like $1 each way. It's not that expensive. So you spend a couple bucks, and you could take like an hour subway ride and bus ride or whatever. It's just not that much. So the how can I say, the economics of car ownership is it makes sense for some people, but for me, I just don't think it's great. And then if you can walk, even better, and you get exercise. So there's that. A barbecue out here or something. No, they're cooking actually wood, so it's a fire. What's that? Oh, glass craft. Okay, let's go on inside. I like that. Cool. But seriously, the fall colors are great.
Yeah.
We should have came earlier. We lost some leaves here, but it's okay.
Oh, there's more.
What is that? Oh, the type of tree? Yeah, the way that the branches go on these things is really amazing.
Late, but still.
It's really pretty out here. A lot of tables. I'm not sure if there can be one spot. I'll show you guys what it looks like, though. There's one small table there, I guess. Yeah, maybe we can find a spot outside. Could sit over here on the edge, maybe. But anyway, also regarding the Teslas here in Korea, there's a couple things I want to bring up. So one is competition for cars here is really, really stiff. We have a new brand that just came in, BYD. It's new to Korea, at least. I don't know how, I can't remember what year BYD was founded, but I know BYD is not in USA right now. And I'll just tell you guys, I've driven the BYD. It's not a bad car. For the price, it's not a bad car. And the thing comes in like 20 to 30% less. So I think if BYD entered the American market, it would absolutely crush Tesla. I mean, Tesla's already on a decline, and I think BYD would just really finish them off. And you're going to start to see more Korean EVs in USA. I think I saw something to where the Kia EV3 is going to enter the American market maybe next year. That's a really good car. I'm not kidding. I did a review on that already. It's a really good car. And I don't know if the Casper's coming. Casper Inster, depending on what it's named. It's a little car. I did a review on that one. I like these cars. I think they're good cars. I don't know if that one's coming to USA or not, but it's really popular in Europe. And we were just at like the Hyundai place and asking about the Casper, because here there's like a 2-year wait to get one, because they were off in their projections because they sold way more than they thought. But anyway, point being though, there's some models. There's a couple, and then they got all the Ioniqs. There's like the 5, the 6, and then some of the Kias, like the EV5, and there's like an EV9, a bunch of stuff coming down the pipeline. Whereas Tesla just doesn't have that much, right? Elon's more focused on his XAI and his robots and his fantasy Mars stuff. So there's that. So so one, there's a lot of competition here compared to USA, and there's a lot of stuff you haven't seen. Long story short. The other issue as well, when Tesla tries to come here to Korea, they don't have access to the, basically way to put it is like high definition maps and like live traffic in the same way that Korean manufacturers do. So basically when you drive the Kia, the Hyundai, or the Genesis here in Korea, like the way that they have live integration of all the road information, traffic, toll roads, and these kind of things, it's just done really, really well. It is very, very different than, say, like if you use a third party on your phone, which when I was in USA, that's what I did. I would just drive around and either use like Google Maps or Apple Maps or Waze, and you guys know these kind of programs. But to have it like completely integrated into your car, it's like on your dashboard and on the screen. It just works really well, and it'll show up on your HUD too as well if you have a HUD in your car. Like those kind of things is something that Tesla doesn't have access to, and I don't think any of the foreign brands have access to this stuff. And this is one of the ways that Korea helps protect their local brands, is basically give their local brands more data and access to local information. And that was one of the things that if you followed the negotiations between the US and Korea, Trump was trying to, on behalf of the tech companies, trying to get more access to the high definition maps and other stuff. So that would actually benefit American companies, be it Google. Because here in Korea, Naver is a big company, and if you do like Naver reviews, it's like a Google. And it'll be your restaurants or hotels or any whatever establishment, like that's advertising money for them, and it's like a lot of traffic, right? So Google doesn't have the same sort of level of detail to all the maps and addresses and stuff. So it's hard to explain. Like for example, if you try to use your iPhone here, because I have an iPhone, and you use Apple Maps, it just doesn't work as good as, say, the local Korean mapping. So I have like 3 maps on my phone. I have the Google map, the Apple map, and the Korean one, and the Korean one's just superior. If the access to data ever was, given to say Apple or Google, then they could catch up really quickly. But again, that's something that Korea wants to protect, is to protect their local internet companies the same way they want to protect their local car companies. And again, data is really important. I can't speak to Europe, and I'd be curious your guys' thoughts in Europe if, say, is Google Maps exactly what you use, or do you use Apple Maps, or do you use like a local European brand, or say in Japan or China, are you using something else? And it relates to Tesla because you're trying to crack into, a local market. The other thing that's really interesting that you may not know, so Tesla, they make some cars in USA, they make some cars, actually a bunch of cars in China, and I think the ones we get here in Korea are coming in from China. So they're going to be built differently, different, regulations or whatever, and then the regulations say that we get, from cars, depending on where they come from, if they're built for particular markets, it's going to be different. And so these sort of things to where if Elon is indeed trying to, how can I say, bring FSD and Teslas into Korea and do more stuff, they're going to have to meet, Korean standards of safety. And this is a big topic because sometimes Donald Trump will go out and tell everyone, these foreign markets are blocked and they need to remove all of their regulations so we can bring in, American stuff. I mean, it's, how can I say, like, if your sort of preference in your local market is safety, Teslas may not necessarily, match that, because Tesla is all about pumping up the stock, putting out cars as cheap as possible, and, safety isn't that important to them. And I want to give you something that I was thinking about today that you may not know. Korea recently, because I didn't know this myself even, I just found out today, they integrated this really cool feature to where when you do lane changes and off-ramps and stuff like that, it's like color-coded, which is really interesting. So they got like this line on the ground and the line on the sign. I'll show you a picture of it, you can see it here. But the basic gist of it is that it makes driving easier and increases safety. And why would you put in safety features, be it your car regulations or like your highway regulations, this kind of stuff? Or, for example, you have rest areas, so you can go and rest. And the more rest areas, say like on a highway, creates more safety. People get tired and go to the bathroom or whatever. Because think of it this way. If you create more safety for your citizens, then there's less need for ambulances and less need for, say the police to come and block off traffic, and, you have to deal with, rescuing someone, which you want to rescue people, but I'm saying you want to prevent accidents because it actually helps all of us, so we don't have to like, oh no, who got hurt, and, now I got to wait for them to get the ambulance or whatever. Also, it helps us to where if you have public safety, not so many people are going to go to the hospital, so you're going to reduce costs there. And I think one of the things I just really noticed from being here, the more regulations you have and the more sort of concerted effort for safety, like you're playing the preventative game, right? It's like this, like if you go to your regular checkups at the doctor, or you exercise regularly, or you eat healthy food, right? And you have all these systems in place that make you more able to live a healthy life, then that actually reduces the cost for all of us, right? Do you see what I'm saying here? Because you don't have to worry about these emergency spikes ups in cost, or sort of inefficiency in the system because more people are sick. And it's a different situation in USA, and it relates to Tesla because just think of it this way. If your whole system is based on drive up profits as much as possible, then, and this would be like, the Tesla model or, American model is, well, then I need to, cut corners as much as I possibly can and get stuff out the door and just push those margins up, whatever. And then, so here's a good example. So for example, say in USA, let's say you have 0 regulations on colas, okay? It's a good example. And it turns out that some colas have 5 times more caffeine than what's healthy for teenagers. And then you market that thing to teenagers. So in my opinion, something like that should be regulated, right? For say Republicans and Trump and Elon Musk, they're like, no. I mean, we've done our testing, and it turns out that teenagers love caffeine, and we're going to give them as much caffeine as they can possibly take or whatever. And then we'll do these viral videos of oh my God, I took caffeine, I didn't sleep for a week, and how awesome is that, right? And this is sort of why you want regulations. And I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this stuff, say in Europe or other places, if you have regulations, this kind of stuff, right? So in USA, say if your whole thing is all profit driven and because the markets do matter, then you're gonna put out advertising for McDonald's and all these bad products for people, and you get kids addicted to this stuff, and you create this whole culture where it's all about the money, it's not about the people, and then that sort of integrates into say your Tesla and your full self-driving, to where you're just pushing this marketing to stuff to people that it may be damaging to their health. And it then sort of affects the costs for all of us, if you guys know what I'm saying. And I know I'm addressing a bunch of topics here. It was really on my mind today because I've just been noticing the longer that I've been creating. If you guys don't know, I've been here over 15 years now. Off and on, I've moved around a lot, and I write about this stuff in my book, and you can find it. But, each year things get better for different reasons, right? Sometimes there's an accident. It happens. There are accidents everywhere. We have fires here. We have flooding, any number of things. And what you want is the government to say, okay, if there's an accident, what was the cause of that accident? Let's not have that happen again. And you put in a regulation and, then hopefully prevent that. And one of the things that you find with, say, Elon Musk or Donald Trump, they complain about regulations nonstop. I see it all the time. And especially when recently Trump was saying I don't want any states to make any regulations for AI. And if they do, I'm going to sue them. And just think of it this way. For those of you who are in home building or any kind of thing like that, or ever built a home or know about construction, if there's a regulation on something like, hey, you have to have a pipe a certain kind of way, you have electricity, a certain kind of way, or you have to have, build a certain kind of materials, chances are there was someone hurt, right? And because it wasn't, built to certain specs, and then they put in laws of okay, let's not have that happen again. And that's why you have that. And so how you improve as a society and how you improve as a culture all the time is to not just only think about profits, to put people and safety first, because ultimately that actually benefits all of us by reducing costs. Just about the money situation, not just people's lives and health, but it reduces costs over time and makes things better for everyone. And if you want to just look at the most basic number, okay? And I've shared this several times on the channel. You can find my videos on this, but I'll just say you can look at it for yourself. But there's an easy measure to sort of where people care about the people or not, is look at longevity and lifespans. And I'll just tell you, I think it's, I believe it's here, Korea, Japan has a real long lifespan, and I think it's Sweden and a couple others. You guys can correct me wrong, but I think Sweden's one of the ones, and it might be like a Finland or Norway, something like that, in Europe. And there's other places, but I just say, it's actually the highest in the world, and I think USA is not so high. And I was looking at other stuff as well as pedestrian deaths with cars and stuff like that. I think the USA is a little bit higher than other countries, and all these things sort of add up. And for me, or you could, if you want to look at gun deaths, it's really, really high in USA, of course, because more guns, more deaths, et cetera, and there's more guns than people in USA, and that's all about profits, right? People make money from selling you ammunition, whatever. And it's hard to have conversations about Americans about this kind of stuff, because if you've never been in an environment to where there's more rules and the rules are designed to protect you, and then you teach your people to obey said rules, and it actually is a good thing. So for example, my first time when I went to Tokyo, I noticed all these people were waiting for the light to change, right? For the walk sign or whatever. And I had never seen that before in my whole life, where like you just like really wait for the signs. But like something like that, like really waiting. So basically people don't really jaywalk in Japan. And it might sound really strange to you, but it's a different, society, or people don't really litter. So it's like really clean. And when you live in that kind of environment, you realize, I actually really like it when people don't litter. Because me personally, I don't like litter. I think litter is awful. And maybe some people in USA love litter. And when I lived in Philadelphia, I remember I used to see people just throw crap on the ground all the time, and it just really bothered me. I just don't like it. I don't really like litter. I don't like garbage on the streets. But Japan is like really, really clean for those of you who've been there. But to say the thing like the pedestrian thing, for some people it might seem really strange when you see it for the first time, where people actually obey that kind of laws. But overall, it helps everyone. And these are the kind of things that it's really, really hard to change the culture of USA, because it's all about profits. But you do want to raise awareness of this stuff, and it can change over time. Because, for example, guys, I remember a time when people used to complain about seatbelts because they like announced it. Because you don't know, I'm 50, so I've seen a lot of changes. And now these days, I think young people are okay with seatbelts, right? And if you want to see more of life in Korea, subscribe to our vlog channel. It's called Chris and Yeji. If you have any questions, please write in the comments. I'll try to address this more in videos, conversations, and I'll try to show you some more Korea when I can. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.